All right. Welcome to United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. I'm glad everyone can join us back again at the start of February. So, as always, while people are filing in, do check us out on our website, uacnj.org. That is where you're going to find all our info on our member clubs, any presentations or special events we have coming up. And it'll also give you descriptions of the various telescopes we have on site and activities you can do with your family. You can also check us out on our Facebook. Uh, we are active on our socials and we do try and answer any questions you put our way. And as well as that, we also have a Instagram and Discord. You can also, we are, of course, a nonprofit. So any and all support, we thank those who have supported us in the past and continue to do so because it does keep our lights on and us able to continue offering these free public programs to everyone. Now, once again, it's that first Saturday of the month. So our first program, of course, is What's Up in the February Sky with Lonny Buinis. Lonnie has been giving talks at UACNJ since it opened. He is the only member of the International Association of Astronomical Artists to specialize in virtual reality planets, some of which appear in his ebook, which he shamelessly plugs. So tonight, Lonnie's going to give us an overview of what we can find up in the sky this month.
Thank you, Kim. And these programs wouldn't be possible without the support and continuing support of people like Kim, Chris, and Jeff, and all of the UACNJ amateur astronomers. I am one of those amateur astronomers who like to do this program every month. So for this month, of course, it's What's Up in the February Sky. And here we see a nebula which is up in the February sky just in time for Valentine's Day. I will let you guess the name of this cloud of dust and gas in outer space thousands of light years away. When you visit UACNJ between the more temperate months of April through October, we'll show you this information, urging you to ask a lot of questions, visit our gift shop, and have some practical information on what to do when you're there. But because we can't do that right now, we're not on site, I feel very privileged to do this series virtually, which we'll be doing all this year. So do come for every first Saturday of each month. In the news, before we get started with actually seeing what's up in the sky, this is up in the sky, the new comet. New, I say new, that's newly discovered, but the thing's been out there for thousands of years, finally making its way on a long, slow orbit to the vicinity of Earth, coming closest just a few days ago on the 1st of the month. It's Comet C/2022 E3. If you can't remember that, you've probably heard astronomers and people in the news referring to it as Comet ZITF. Repeat after me, ZITF. That's not easy, is it? There's no vowels. Why? It actually stands for the organization that founded, ZTF. I'll let you look that up. Here's a couple of diagrams of the orbit. You can actually get a live animation of this on the Near Earth Object website from NASA, NEO. Here's an actual animation of the comet as the ion tail streams out. That's charged particles. The energy of the solar wind strips away electrons from the atoms in the comet's gas as it escapes, as it heats up. And as the electrons go back to their normal energy state, they give off light, photons of different energies. The ion tail has that characteristic greenish bluish color. And the dust tail curves away at a different angle. Ion tail much faster goes straight back away from the sun. Gravity drags behind. That's kind of the color of the sun, yellowish. So you might see on long exposure pictures a couple different colors. This has been described as the green comet to the eye using optical aid like binoculars or a telescope. Kind of has a greenish tint to it. The green comet. It's easier to remember than go ahead, practice at home. Feel free. Here's the path of the comet. There was a viewing session recently that I attended on the 27th, and it turned out that the sky was pretty good to view, except right in the area of the north, where the comet was passing the Little Dipper, right? Polaris, the pole star, Little Dipper, this time of the year, around 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock, a convenient time to view, is downward, and the comet is moving left to right past the Little Dipper, and tonight it's way up here by the stars of Camelopardalis, which is not obviously, it's obviously the camelo, right? Famous animal, Camelopard. I'll let you find out what that is. Camelopardalis. But if you go to the right of the Little Dipper, take the stars in the handle and kind of go along a line this way, and you'll be in the vicinity of the comet. It's last I heard it was around magnitude that is a brightness close to the visual limit of the human eye. And if you live in an area that has light pollution from street lights, city lights, it's going to be next to impossible to see that with the naked eye, right? That's this, right? We all have it. I'm going to be referring to that piece of equipment throughout tonight's talk. Use it, go out, do this. You don't need amateur astronomers to tell you how to enjoy the sky. We're just here to give you a little push, give you a start. So go out there and look for Camelopardalis and see if you can find Comet Zipf. Other events, I'd like to use go-astronomy.com. Fairly easy to remember. It's got a lot of stuff on the site. Check out the astronomy events and then the event calendar, and it gives you the events for the entire year. I was a little surprised this month when I went there to see all the many different events that are happening in February. I got this. Click here. Wow, lots going on. It's a short month, right? And it's short on events, but we can still have fun looking at what's up in the February sky. I'm pointing out the phases of the moon because this is very important for finding faint objects like that nebula that you saw at the beginning, the one that's shaped like a heart. Go ahead, guess the name. Go ahead, I'll give you a moment to think about that. While you're thinking about that, check out moongiant.com sometime. They've got a lot of interesting information about the moon, the current phase, when to expect the full moon. The major phases of the moon are blocked out here. Full and new are very important. Tomorrow, the moon is full. This is, unfortunately for us, even when the sky is clear of clouds, the absolute worst time to see faint objects like star clouds, nebulae, gas clouds, star clusters. Star clusters, they might have a little more luck. You'll be okay with planets and bright stars, but the full moon tends to ruin the chance to see faint objects. So beginning of the month, not so good. Towards the end of the month, the 20th, the moon is new, which means what? If you're looking at the sun in the sky, don't look at it with your naked eye. Use well, actually, if you're going to look at the sun, you want to use special filters, mylar filters. I don't recommend it. I actually had a friend who partially blinded himself looking at the sun for too long. But if you look towards where the sun is in the daytime sky, the moon's going to be right nearby when it's new. So the part of the moon that's illuminated by the sun, if we were to look from the side, the sun is far away, 400 times further than the moon, 250,000 miles away, the sun 93 million, right? But why do they look the same size? Well, because the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun while it's 400 times closer. Interesting coincidence. So they'll be close in the sky. The side of the moon that's lit up is the side we never see because as the moon goes around the Earth, it always faces one face towards the Earth. That's called synchronous rotation. And all of the major satellites in our solar system do that to their parent planets, like the four moons of Jupiter, locked in by tidal forces to always face Jupiter. Big moons of Saturn, same thing. So, good time to see faint objects, the new moon, toward the end of the month. Moongiant.com. Each month has poetic names for the moon. You can pick your favorites. The old reference beard here in Wikipedia refers to Native American names generally translated from the tribal names. And I like the bare spots on the ground moon this month. That's probably one of the longest names for the full moon of the month. Raccoon moon. Snow moon is very common. These are names: hunger moon, storm moon from the Farmer's Almanac, more informal. So check that out. I got that from Wikipedia. But we're here tonight to see what's up in the February sky. We can't do that by going outside. Well, we could, but I won't be with you. So I'm going to simulate the night sky by using a free program called Stellarium. Stellarium is free to download, free to run on their website, free to use as an app. Free, free, free. I like that. Free is for me. So if you were to be at UACNJ observatories at Jenny Jump in Hope, New Jersey, not far from the land of make-believe. Anybody recognize that? Make-believe. Were you there when you were a kid? I wasn't. Was I? Yeah, I might have been. But who knew that UACNJ would someday have a set of observatories there? There is the house facing west. We want to look and start towards the north. So what you're going to do, no matter where you are, whether you're at UACNJ with its multiple observatories, one of which has been named for me, I am highly honored, I would look towards the north where the observatories are. And I would look for the letter N. Go outside at home, everyone, look for the red letter N, right? Right, this is a test to see if all of you are paying attention. I will be providing false information from time to time. Yeah, you can turn the cardinal points off and on in Stellarium. There are controls that pop up. There are controls that are hidden. If I'm looking towards the north, I'm going to have trees sometimes or buildings in the way, depending on where you live. So this time of the year, it's not easy to see all of the Great Bear. Do you see him? There's the outline. We can make things more difficult by turning off the outlines. We can make things more confusing by turning on images. But I like to use the kind of lines that you might see on a star map, such as the time, warning, shameless promotion, of the type that we sell in the gift shop at the UACNJ observatories, star charts, planispheres that have the lines. There's the bear's head, claws, and the famous part, the 8 stars of the Big Dipper. 8 stars, wait a minute. One is in the trees, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Why is he saying 8? What's the matter with his vision? Well, most of you will have will have vision good enough to see a famous double star, Mizar and Alcor. Mizar and Alcor. This is an apparent double. Note the distance to the star, 78 light years away to Mizar. Alcor is 82. They're not near each other at all. Real double stars are close, not measured in light years, but light minutes or light weeks. However, there are stars in the sky, like Mizar, who are actual, real spectroscopic doubles. They orbit one another over years, many years, sometimes up to 500. So if you have sharp eyesight, see if you can see 8 stars in the Big Dipper, which is upended this time of year. The pointer stars help us find north, because Polaris, the pole star, Alpha Umi, Ursa Minor, astronomers like to use abbreviations. All constellations have 3-letter abbreviations. Ursa Minor, Alpha, the brightest star from the Greek letters. Second brightest star, Beta, Gamma, right? And where I live, I generally see 1, 2, 3 stars in Little Dipper, and that's about it. I have light pollution, and a lot of you are probably familiar with that problem. But if you come to UACNJ, we've got some of the darkest skies in the state of New Jersey because we're in a state forest, protected from development with streetlights. Light pollution has been getting worse over the years, but it's still pretty darn good at Jenny Jump. When I say Jenny Jump, I'm using the equivalent term that I mean for UACNJ. So you might hear me say either. Now, the actual Earth's North Pole points a little bit to the side of the North Star, but this does help us find north very easily. We're privileged here in the United States because if we were to go down to, say, South Africa or South America or Antarctica, they do not have a pole star. They have a cross that points in the general direction. Big Dipper, Little Dipper, what's this? House-shaped group of stars and a letter M or W, depending on where she is. For throughout the year, you'll see these stars in different positions, like the hands of a clock. They never rise or set. They spin round and round the pole, the circumpolar constellations, the Great Bear, the Small Bear, the King, the Queen, Cassiopeia, and between the Big Dipper and Little Dipper, the Dragon Draco. Easier now? Yeah. In Stellarium, you can use different cultures to show different renditions of what these stars are supposed to represent. For instance, in winter, the main sign of winter is currently a male figure, but thousands of years ago was a female figure, and I'll point him out shortly. That's the north. Once you've become familiar with the north, you know where the other directions are, right? If you were to swing leftward, you'd be going towards where the stars, like where the sun sets in the west. And you will notice a very bright star-like object that's partly in the trees this time at 2017 at night. All right, arithmeticians in the audience, you know how they say do the math? That really irritates a friend of mine. He says it's not math, it's arithmetic. So in 24-hour time, minus 12, 20 minus 12 is, shout out if you know the answer. I can't hear you, so you can shout anyway. Yeah, 8 o'clock, 8:17 at night. 8:17 at night. Jupiter is in the trees. That is the planet Jupiter. Let's zoom in. How much power would it take a telescope to see the disk of Jupiter? Well, I saw Jupiter's disk in a pair of binoculars, just barely. Just barely. And some of the bright moons and some satellites. Oh, great. Bigger telescope. Looks like one of the moons is going behind Jupiter. You might see some bands. Jupiter is going to be a difficult object because it's low in the sky by the time we all get out there and look after dinner. But there are other planets, other things to see. The moon disappearing behind Jupiter right now, Europa, may have life inside it underneath a frozen surface of ice. We know there's warm oceans and organic matter. So what kind of life will we find? We may find out within the next few years. NASA's planning a mission to Europa. Setting in the west. I'm going to start here because you'll have your last chance to see this huge, great square in the sky. You'll never guess what astronomers call it. This great square shape of stars is Pegasus, the winged horse. And this is called, yep, you got it, the Great Square, which helps us find Andromeda the Princess and her galaxy, the most distant thing that you can see in the universe without a telescope or binoculars. Cool. I talked about that in previous What's Up talks. We go past Pisces, the fishes. See another bright object down there. That's Jupiter. Looking further towards the south. This is a more interesting part of the sky. So we're going to look for the letter S tonight, right? No. But since you found north, right, you know where north is? You're going to spin around 180 degrees and you'll know where south is. And it's going to be very easy this time of the year to find south because the main sign of winter is right there. Looks sort of like a hunter holding a club, the skin of an animal, belt, sword hanging from the belt. Don't see him? Thousands of years ago, this was a matriarchal figure, a woman in the sky. Things change over time, over centuries. There are different cultures, different legends. But Orion, the hunter, helps us find other cool sky. Within Orion, there's some cool things hanging below the belt in the sword. Even with a pair of binoculars, you can see a kind of a nebulosity, a cloudy shape here in the middle of the sword. What is that? That's a nebula, very famous one. And when you look at it in a telescope to the human eye, you won't see these pretty colors, red and blue. It'll be kind of greenish like the comet because the human eye is not sensitive to color at low light levels. But in long exposure photos, now made without film, does photo still mean an image? I don't know. Photograph. Anybody know what a photograph is anymore? Floppy disk, slide rule, rotary telephone. Shall I go on? Blue from the light of brilliant, hot, young stars burning their nuclear fuel very quickly. They'll mesh in terms of the age of the sun, which is now 5 billion years. That's 5,000 million. These bright, hot stars in the center of the nebula last only millions of years. There are 4 bright ones here called the trapezium. The red gas glows red of its own emission. It's an emission nebula, hydrogen gas, reddish, and dark dust that may someday collapse to form stars and planets. That's how we know our solar system formed, because we can actually see it happen now. It's not an hypothesis or theory anymore, it's observation. Orion Nebula, M42, if you like to look up the Messier numbers. And a famous nebula here, a lot of you know this one for the shape of an animal, famous absorption nebula, dust in front of the hydrogen gas. What animal is that? Turn your head to the right, sideways. Is it right or left? I'll leave it to you. There are lots of nebulosities in the sky. We can use Orion with a technique that we amateur astronomers call star hopping to find some other features of the sky, other constellations and star clusters. If we follow the belt of Al-Natak, Al-Nalam, and Mintaka, Arabic names kept alive during the ages when people lost interest in the sky and just tried to survive, the Arabic astronomers gave all the bright stars names that we use to this day. Those stars point roughly to the Hyades star cluster with its bright eye star, Alpha Tauri. And so you must know, Tauri refers to the zodiac sign Taurus, the bull. See the horns? See the face? And in the shoulder, we can go past the Hyades star cluster, find another one called the Pleiades, or Seven Sisters. If you're new to the sky, I had a friend who actually mistook that for the Little Dipper. It's sort of a dipper shape. There are 7 fairly bright stars here that we can see easily. Those of you with sharper eyesight might count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I generally see 6. You might see 7 or 8 if you have sharp eyesight, but in binoculars, dozens. Young stars, recently born out of gas, and their bright blue stars light up the nebula they were born from with a bluish, wispy glow. Kind of looks like cirrus clouds that we see in the Earth's atmosphere. We've got a star here, Pleione, that rotates so fast it's shaped like an egg. It's squashed at the poles, a lot like the planet Saturn when Saturn is seen edge on every so often. Right now, Saturn is seen open with the rings open, but because it takes 29 years to circle the sun, every 14 and a half, we see them edge on. We see Saturn looking a bit like Pleione that we know because Pleione is a fast rotator. Star cluster, Seven Sisters. Star cluster, Hyades. Now, this is a bit of an illusion because the bright red star, Aldebaran, giant red star, is about 66.6 light years away, and yet these other stars are much further, 150, 170, 146. So again, an accidental alignment. If you were to travel into space, if you went out close to the star, let's say 50, 60 light years, this formation would break up. You would not see this kind of a V. Accidental alignments. When we look into the sky at different objects, we're looking into the past at different distances. It's taken light 498 years to come to us from Betelgeuse. And just a couple years back, Betelgeuse dimmed, became the lesser of the two bright stars, Betelgeuse and Rigel. And very weird star with some kind of debris or something eclipsing the light of the star every so often. Another red giant star, Aldebaran. Another red, wait, what's this? This is not a red star. It's disfiguring the constellation Taurus temporarily. It is a planet, moves through the stars. Planetides, Greek wanderer, from which we get planet. And again, to zoom in, if we were to zoom in and try to find a telescope, you might barely see some dark markings and some bright polar caps. A little difficult. Zoom in a little more. Right. So then photographs taken by amateurs with modern equipment, we can see some fine details. Dark rock overlaid with some dusty desert planet. Here, in 1933, astronomer J.J. Foucault, French, a Greek astronomer living in France, actually drew the dashed circle here. Did not know he was observing craters. It wasn't until decades later that they confirmed that Mars was moon-like with craters. Yet early observers did sense circular features. Two moons of Mars, very hard to see. You're not going to find them in amateur equipment. But see if you can find the bright red planet Mars. It's disfiguring the winter hexagon and the winter triangle. To find the winter triangle, follow Orion's belt the other way, eastward or left, down to the second brightest star in the whole sky, Sirius, Alpha Canis Majoris, Alpha Canis Canis, the dog star. What's the brightest star? If this is the second brightest star in the sky, 8 light years away, what, 8.6 light years away? There is a star 8 1/3 light minutes away. Yeah, you guessed it. Sol, S-O-L, the sun. Triangle, Betelgeuse. Sirius. Procyon, Pro, before Scion, the dog. This dog star rises first before Sirius, Procyon. And this is Alpha Canis Minor. Just a couple of stars in the little dog. Little dog looks just like a little dog, right? No. Big dog. His sign kind of looks like a dog. Winter triangle. There's a winter hexagon. Sirius. Betelgeuse. Aldebaran. We ignore Mars. Go up to the chariot rider, Auriga. Find this bright yellowish star, Capella. Over to two people who look alike, a zodiac sign. Anyone? What's this? Castor? Bluish in color, Pollux yellowish. Unless you think the narrator here, the speaker is hallucinating, the colors in Stellarium are not that evident. Not as evident as you can actually see with the naked eye, right, in the real sky. You will see the color difference. It's subtle, but it's detectable. Your eye is a spectroscope. It can tell color temperature. The sun would glow yellow from a great distance off. The star bluish, hotter star, burning its fuel much more quickly. Don't worry, the sun's not going to run out of fuel for about 5 billion more years. Castor and Pollux, the twins, Gemini, Alpha Gemini. And finally, back down to Procyon, the winter hexagon, 6 bright stars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only learned about that, and I've been around a long time. I've been doing this for at least half a century. I just learned about this recently. I knew about the winter, realized that you can make a hexagon out of these bright stars. And now it's heptagon, septagon. with Mars disfiguring it. Look for the planet Mars. Might have a little trouble. Remember I told you there was a troublemaker here? I can click on an object in Stellarium, hit spacebar and center it, zoom in to the full moon. Yes. Now, why can't I see any craters here? I can see what looks like a crater, Tycho, with the bright rays from an impact from long ago, and I see Copernicus, very difficult to see detail. There's no shadow. The sun is behind us, the moon is full. Where's time to see details on the moon? Don't observe the moon for details when it's full. You want to wait another week or so when the moon is at quarter phase, first or last. It's actually a week ago that would have been better when the moon's at the first quarter because that's when we're all awake, right around dinner time. You can go out and see a first quarter moon. We're coming up towards the east, and the new stars of spring are coming. When winter is over, I'll be talking about the principal sign of spring, which comes in like a Leo. Cancer the crab looks just like a crab, right? I try it now. No, I detect some dubiousness and skepticism from the audience. Feel free to express your dubiousness and skepticism in chat. Kim will pick that up and alert me if you have questions. And you can even ask questions of a dubious nature. As long as we keep it on the up and up, we are a public institution after all. So here we've got some constellations I pointed out, among the many, that number as many as keys on a piano. You can look that up. I'll leave you with a minor constellation just below the hunter, something running away, leaping away from the hunter. What is the Lepus? Take a guess. Give me a moment to think about it. Lepus. You know, H.A. Rey, in his book, The Stars, A New Way to See Them, had a different way to do this. You can change the culture. Let's see if I've got, I know I had him somewhere. Modern, H.A. Rey. Let's see if that'll work. Yeah, so he's redrawn things a little bit. Yeah, Monoceros looks a bit better. Monoceros, mono, one, ceros, horn, one horn. What has one horn? Should I cheat? Yep, no pictures in H.A. Rey. When you turn on some of these sky cultures, sometimes you won't see it. Look what he did to Orion. Orion's now got a head and a knee, I think. Maybe that's his knee. I don't know. In the head of Monoceros is one of my favorite objects. You won't see these in the winter. They won't come up till the spring. This is a famous nebula. Oh, when I gave this talk recently, a talk similar, someone asked me, why do the nebulae, plural for nebula, nebulas, nebula sounds kind of clumsy, doesn't it? Nebulae, why is it square? Why is the nebula square? Is that the real shape? No, no, it's a photograph, right? Somebody took a square photo, someone pasted it onto some polygons inside Stellarium. But if you zoom out enough, it'll give you the illusion of being round. Got other nebulae nearby that are dark, dust. The James Webb Space Telescope can see right through this in infrared. For the first time, we're penetrating these dust clouds to see what's in them and behind them. Cool. And we can see through more of our galaxy than we did before to find other dwarf galaxies on the other side that we didn't know about. The Milky Way has eaten a lot of dwarf galaxies in the past, including the large and small clouds of Magellan. I've never been privileged to see them. You can see them from the southern hemisphere. But those of you who have traveled south, like our amateur astronomer Gil Jeffer, who's gone to Antarctica and talked about it, he's seen the clouds of Magellan. It wasn't too confusing. We could do a quick review. The north, Let's make everybody dizzy. And zoom to the north, Big Dipper, Little Dipper, House, King, Queen, redrawn by H.A. Ray. Dipper is still there. Wow, the bear looks quite different, doesn't he? He's got a head now. And it looks like the dog is more like a dog. So if I look, oh, I'm sorry, that's the lion. What am I talking about? Leo, lion, looks more like a lion. The dog is if you face south. The south, you'll find planets and the moon and the sun towards the south because in this part of the sky, that's the part of the sky that represents where we find the orbit of the Earth. The ecliptic, if we were to draw the orbit of Earth out into space, it would be a red line like this, right? Go outside, look for the red line? No. Look for the signs of the zodiac, Pisces, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and Leo. The planets follow that because the solar system is fairly flat with the exception of Mercury, Pluto, the comets, some asteroids, and quite a few things actually. But the major planets, the 8 major planets do follow that path. And so that's why you'll find Mars passing close to Aldebaran, a red twinkling object, a red non-twinkling object. Another way to tell a planet from a star. Planets move. When they're high, they generally don't twinkle, and they're fun to look at in a telescope, even a small one. So what should I look for? If I go out and I'm new to the sky, I'm trying to find the hunter. I try to star hop along the belt right or west to the bull, to the Seven Sisters, down east to the dog star and the dog. The small dog, if you can find it in the winter triangle. And I challenge you to find the winter hexagon. And I challenge you to come to Jenny Jump starting in April and challenge the amateur astronomers there to show you through their telescopes or binoculars or even just with a laser pointer to ask them to find the winter hexagon. Well, the winter in April, you'd have to be there pretty early to see that. But they'll show you other things. And I'll talk about other things in successive months in What's Up in the Sky. Let's go back. And I'm going to give you some references. We can come back to Stellarium if you have questions. United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey is easy to remember if you just say with me, UACNJ. Repeat after me, UACNJ.org organization, UACNJ. We've got a lot of reference information there, upcoming events, all about our observatories. There are still print magazines, Sky and Telescope and Astronomy, written for lay people like you and me. I'm not a scientist. I've been doing this for many years. I have degrees in physics and astronomy and computer science, but it really doesn't mean much for practical information and practical knowledge. The amateur astronomers at Jenny Jump, people like the ones helping us tonight, Kim and Chris and Jeff, know a lot about the sky, more so than professionals. So they urge you to come and ask them a lot of annoying questions. They love annoying questions as long as you don't kick their telescope mount, which would upset the telescope, and then they'd have to start all over again setting everything up. Sky and Telescope, Astronomy, they're written so you can understand it. There's a lot of free stuff on their websites. You can also subscribe to get even more. And there are many programs for mobile devices like phones and tablets. Stellarium is one. You can go to the website. You can use Stellarium Web's computers, supercomputers. You can download and install from Stellarium for many devices. You can use your phone. And there are many apps that do this. I used one called Skyview, but it's not a preference. Go on. I found a couple of dozen at least. Go search for sky apps or space apps. Celestia is another fun one. That's free. You can download and install it. You can run it mobile, and that lets you fly through space to see what things look like from other planets. You could go to a place, the only other place in the solar system where you can see the rings of Saturn open, an actual moon. right? And that is a moon of Saturn, Iapetus. That's one place where you can see the rings of Saturn occasionally open every 80 days. What about the second place? Where's the second place where you can see the rings of Saturn? Right, you got it, Earth. If you forget everything else I've told you, this one's easy. Space.com, science, news, the search for life, space flight, spacecraft. There's ads. A little bit annoying if you're scrolling and an ad comes up, but that's all right, right? They have to get up on the site somehow. So this is a very good reference for news, especially. I found it very helpful. And again, I'm going to remind you, Moon Giant Dom has a great calendar if you want to see what the moon is doing. Shameless self-promotion time. If you'd like to actually work some planets with your fingers, you can do so for free on my website, astronomyinmotion.com. If you buy my book, you'll get an explanation of how to compare two of Mars in 3D at once. You can see what they thought 100 years ago compared with today. You can, like my wife's hand is doing, work a 3D model of Mercury. You can buy my app, of my free app, Mars at Your Fingertips, leads to my Mars 3D model for sale, which lets you explore Mars, every landing site and every crash site, including this year's 2023, the Rosalind Franklin spacecraft. And you can zoom in for detail and work the planet in 3D. Again, you can do a lot of that for free with the demo version. You can go to my website and try that free. You can try the book. And you can reach me here. That's my email, or website, astronomyinmotion.com, or Mars at Your Fingertips.com. You've been a very good audience. I want to thank you for seeing this tonight. And if you come to visit, we will put up our references to Facebook and Instagram and Discord and Patreon and YouTube. You can find us everywhere. UACNJ. Again, say after me, UACNJ, right? Thank you.
All right.
And I'm going to turn this over to Kim. Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you so much, Lonnie, for another great presentation. Thank you for everyone for joining us. We're going to get right into the Q&A now. And to start off our question and answer session, the first one is speaking of the sun. Will UACNJ be doing anything for the annular solar eclipse in October? And now I know since Lonnie doesn't exactly know the answer to that question, I'll take that one, which we had actually answered in chat. That's going to depend on volunteer availability as well as interest shown in hosting such an event. Um, you know, we are a volunteer based organization as such. Sometimes life does get in the way of being able to host events. And like I said, if a lot of people show interest at showing up, we can definitely look into possibly doing an event for that. All right, so our next question is actually one I'm curious about because you've hinted at it before. Uh, you've hinted that you have other projects or presentations that you're working on. Is there anything coming down the pipeline that we might be looking forward to soon?
Yeah, sure. I'm glad you asked. I asked to do a new presentation, and I call it's all about things that annoy me in astronomy and physics. So I've entitled it, What Bothers Me? Right after W.C. Fields, famous comedian who once said, "Get away from me, kid, you bother me." So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. I can do that at request of any organization. I could put it up, I could do it virtually for UACNJ, however you like, if you have that of interest. One of the things that really annoys me is the use of the word theory. And also what really annoys me, clouds. Darn you, clouds.
I have a theory that this entire sentence is going to annoy you.
Uh-oh.
Ah, you got to make it fun. All right. So the next question is, uh, when you were speaking of the Clipper, was the Clipper going to go there and back again, or was that go and do science and then something else drifts back and collects the science like they've done with the most recent Mars
Well,
rover.
I believe you're referring to the Europa Clipper. That's the moon of
Yes,
Jupiter.
yes.
Right, that's a good question. It's a moon of Jupiter that has an icy covering and an ocean, and there are cracks where the tidal forces from Jupiter has weakened the crust. So the plan was to land something near one of those, drill down, and see if any microorganisms have percolated up from the bottom of the ocean. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see if there's advanced life forms that way, like the ones that exist at hyperthermal vents in the oceans of Earth. Blind crabs, tube worms, shrimp that exist at 800 degrees Fahrenheit near the black smokers that spew organic matter. And then it's freezing a few feet away. But so does stuff like that exist? We don't know, but it would be great to find out. And so the mission, I believe, mid 2020s. I'm hoping that it does not get canceled. All of you listening tonight should be alive when this happens. So we may find out soon if life has evolved independently of the Earth in our solar system. Exciting times to be alive.
Right. And actually, one of our viewers had at the time also added this that they're not sure that a return is necessarily planned as it would add so much
Right.
extra to it. Um, but they said it's most likely just going to be an orbiter like Cassini was for Saturn instead of a
That would be
lander.
too bad. The lander part of the mission has been scrubbed and added back many times. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we could all push NASA to, or SpaceX.
You want to go
Yeah,
touch the thing, but at the same time, you don't want to accidentally explode the thing by touching Europa a little too hard.
right.
Right. Oh gosh. Now for the question that I have dreaded since I've seen it, because I have to do it in the voice. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen Saturn?
Are you referring to the icy portion of the rings or the rocky portion?
Quick, was it the ice? Oh no, that's where I just explode off into the ether. Like woo!
That's it. Yeah, and you know, of course, that all of the giant planets have rings. And in fact, they just discovered an Earth-sized planet that has rings. The James Webb Space Telescope has found a planet 99% the size of the Earth with some kind of rings around it. Now, Earth has a ring of debris, old dead satellites and junk. But what is this orbiting this other planet? Well, maybe we'll find out.
I've just been corrected. The correct line for me was, I don't know.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, be careful when there's a gremlin or a ogre at a bridge or a wizard.
Right. So here's a fun question from Jeff, and I'm going to shamelessly make fun of him later for it. What is Orion's arrow pointed at?
Orion's arrow. Orion doesn't have an arrow, as far as I know. He's got a club and a skin.
Yeah,
But
James has
what does a
actually corrected uh, Jeff on that, going, do you guys even astronomy? Because even those of us who are in the hobby do occasionally make mistakes. I believe
sure?
the correct one he was likely trying to say, um, who's the archer, is probably Sagittarius.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Where
That's
what
a
is their
summertime.
arrow
Yeah,
pointed at?
yeah. The summertime constellation is low in the sky. We look at that in what's up in the July and August skies, and that is pointing to the right or westward towards the Scorpion, Scorpius, not Scorpio. That's the zodiac name. Scorpius is the astronomer's constellation name. So if you're looking south, set Scorpion right, and the arrow he's shooting at the Scorpion. So come on back to, in fact, visit us on site at UACNIDGE in July or August.
So Jan actually had suggested that it was pointed towards the Heart Nebula. I don't know where the Heart
Oh,
Nebula is, so I could not
yes, I
confirm
totally
or deny.
forgot. May I share my screen and show you where the Heart Nebula is? People might wonder.
Yep,
All right.
pulling that up. The comment actually following that was, would that make, and they put Orion because that was the original thing, but it's actually Sagittarius, the original Cupid, if it is pointed at the Heart Nebula.
Well, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. The Heart Nebula is further away. It's near Cassiopeia and Perseus and the double cluster, this double star cluster in Perseus. And there is our heart. Just in time for Valentine's Day. Heart Nebula. It's the Soul Nebula, Heart and Soul, right nearby. I don't know a lot of these as well as many of the amateur astronomers at UACNJ. So do ask them a lot of questions. If you have a favorite object, they'll find it for you. If it's up, they'll find it. They can show you the. As long as you're... There you go. You can ask him questions about what's for sale in the gift shop and other. But if you want to find a cluster, you can ask one of the observers. Labor. So if you'd like to help us out and donate when you visit, we'll be most grateful. Most grateful. All right, I'm going to stop share.
Right. Yep. The next question is actually Jeff. Uh, we've seen your wall before. What's the giant empty spot that's now on your wall that we can see?
Uh, there, I took a painting down that has a nude,
Ah,
a nude alien. So not for general consumption. And so I apologize for the scratches in the paint. We will be repainting eventually. And you know what? Next time I'll put another painting up, a different one.
we actually have one of his paintings in the little gift shop and museum area inside, and you when you come visit, you can always check that out as well. Let's
We
see.
don't do nudes here.
Yeah, all of our stuff is strictly PG because
Correct.
we do try and make sure science and astronomy is available to everyone. You know, kids, they're often, you know, very interested in science and, oh, look at the pretty stars early on. And a lot of times it just takes that little bit of encouragement of, oh, well, even if you have to say, hey, I don't know what this is, but we can find out, it's a lot more, honestly, almost a little more exciting that way. And that's who ends up becoming the next, person who's sending up the Mars rover. That's who's going to
You know,
make that
Kim,
next rocket.
Tim, that's an important point. That brings up another. I was at a recent viewing session where a mother brought her daughter, a young daughter, and their own telescope. So if you want to bring your own equipment and get help from the amateur astronomers at UACNJ, you can do that. I helped them look through their telescope at the planet Jupiter, and they were thrilled. So if you have trouble with your telescope, you want to learn more about how to use it, bring it on down. Not now, starting April through October.
Ah, right. So it looks like most of our questions are wrapped up. I am going to put out a last call for any last minute questions here. And while we're waiting for that, I again want to thank you, Lonnie, for giving us another wonderful talk, as well as everyone who has joined us tonight and in previous nights, and those who are going to check us out after we've already gone offline. Uh, we do live stream on Twitch and YouTube, and you can always find our past broadcasts on archived on YouTube. So even if you miss the spot or you find a website that we've gone over that you want to find more about or forget what it is, you can always go back and revisit our stream. You know, always ask questions in the comments. I do try and periodically scroll through those to make sure we answer them in a timely manner. Or you can always reach out to us through our website. Again, uacnj.org. That's where you're going to find all our that information, scopes we have, our location, as well as what programs we're currently offering and our member clubs. So, someone wants to make an emote that's old man yelling at the clouds. Let's see. And yep. So with that, like I said, do check us out on our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Discord, where you can generally chat with us live, and as well as Twitter that occasionally we post on. Your best bet for our social is actually our Facebook. Again, we're a nonprofit, so any bit that you guys have done has helped us keep our lights on, helped us to offer these free public programs. And with that, thank you, Lonnie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a good night.
Thanks to Kim, Chris, and Jeff. And